Drill Zero is a dry fire drill that's specifically designed so that you can do it every day. It takes a minimal amount of time, and you don't have to put on any extra equipment. You only need a gun and a wall, and a safe direction, obviously. Being a dry fire drill, make sure you pay attention to all the standard safety issues with respect to dry fire. Make sure the gun's empty, make sure you have safe directions, no ammunition in the area, etc. Do the dry fire safely. As I said, for Drill Zero, you just need a firearm and a wall. The entire point of this is that sometimes on some days you just don't have time to put on all your gear and have a good solid dry fire drill practice. As such, Drill Zero is something you can do anytime you've got 5 minutes. And surely, in every day you have, you can pull out 5 minutes and perform some dry fire. So here's how it goes. Our objectives for Drill Zero are pretty straightforward. We're working on transitioning the gun, whether it's a regular transition, a transition from low ready, or from a compressed ready. We're also working on eye movement, not only from one place to another, but also changing our eye focus from something in the distance to something close up, specifically a focus on the front sight. We're also working on sight alignment as we're working on that eye focus, and of course we're working on our ability to perform a perfect trigger pull. And we can do it all at once. So here's how Drill Zero works. You start by having a wall at a certain place. We want to have a nice, bare, expansive wall here, and we want to be standing slightly past arm's length away from it. So if my wall is here, I want to get to the position, so if I have my gun fully extended and I have my eye on the front sight, when I get it to here, the wall is several inches past it. Now, we don't want it too far past it. We want this nice blank expansive wall that has no particular aiming points on it so that we can only focus on our front sight. So, wall, us standing beside it a certain distance away. Our start position is at some angle from that, focused on something fairly far away. Now, when we do that, we can start with our firearm here as our eyes are focused on it. We can start from a compressed ready. We can start from a low ready. Doesn't really matter. How much of an angle we have in terms of how far we are from our final position also doesn't particularly matter. We merely want to make sure that, one, we have to transition the gun somehow, and two, that we're moving our eyes both at an angle and going from a far focus to a near focus onto the front sight. So, we pick whatever our start position is, we pick our final position, and we start with our stance where it would be in our final position. So, if I'm looking at something in the distance there, I may have just shot at it or whatever, but my gun is slightly down, but it is extended. I'm focusing there, not on the front sights. Preferably focus on something as distant as possible. Then, when it's time to perform a repetition, you start both the transition of your eyes and the gun at the same time. Note, we're starting with our finger outside the trigger guard. So I transition my eyes and start the gun around, and as I do it, I focus from far to suddenly near on the front sight, put my finger on the trigger, and perform a trigger pull. Bring the gun back out, set it up, and do it again. Now, when we do it, we want to get to the point where our transition is as fast as we can make it, and our eye transition is as quick as we can make it. In other words, when the gun is coming here, our eyes are already focused straight on the front sight, so we can immediately start the trigger pull. Now, the trigger pull itself is obviously incredibly important. We don't want to merely sit here and yank the trigger. On the other hand, we don't want to slowly work the trigger until it finally goes off. The point of the drill is to make everything occur eventually at speed without disturbing the sights. So, we want to make our transition of the gun faster, our transition of our eyes faster, and our trigger pull faster and faster the better we do this. But it only counts if pulling the trigger does not disturb the sights. You might start out with your body facing where you're going to end up. I start here, I go here. As I start my eye transition, the gun follows, I bring the trigger here. If it takes me half an hour to pull the trigger, that's not actually good practice. What we want to do is get to the point where our trigger pull occurs more quickly and more quickly without disturbing the sights. We want to get to the point where our trigger pull is nice and quick, and it occurs immediately upon our front sight being exactly in this spot with our eyes focused solidly on it. We should be able to see it. So we turn, look, pull the trigger. Make sure your eyes snap to the point. You bring that gun to the point. Obviously, you're moving them both at the same time, but your head does turn faster. So we snap our eyes to this point. We bring the gun up. We focus here, and we pull the trigger without moving the gun. If when we do it, it looks like that, it doesn't count, and you better slow down. Now, what do you have to slow down? Well, maybe your trigger pull was the only part you have to slow down. It's up to you. You're the one who has to figure out where the problem is. If I snap here, and then I have to take a little longer on the trigger because it takes me longer to get my eyes to this point, that tells me where something is that I have to work on. Do I need to make my eyes faster, or do I need to make my trigger pull better and faster? This drill will tell you. So we can start from whatever position we want. Low ready, compressed ready, gun out, doesn't matter. Now, in all of these cases I've been demonstrating from this direction. Obviously, we want to spend half our time going from the other direction, and we want to use different start positions. What you want to do for this particular drill is on any given day, any iteration of this, you want to do 30 trigger pulls. 10 of them with both hands, 10 of them with your strong hand, 10 of them with your weak hand. In every single case, it works best to start from the same beginning position and the same side. So if today is a day where I'm going to start with my gun out this way and my head up, that's where they're all going to start. Whether I'm doing it strong hand only or weak hand only, doesn't matter. I want them to all start from that position. Then maybe the next day I'm going to start from low ready, but in the other direction, and so I'll start off pointed in this direction with the gun low ready. But again, 10 trigger pulls each, 2 hands, strong hand, and weak hand. Drill 0 is very straightforward. We have our final position. We have any one of a number of start positions. We can start facing off to the left. We can start facing off to the right. We can start from a low ready, a compressed ready. We can start with the gun out. But again, in all cases, our eyes are focused off something into the distance, and they come to a near focus on the front sight. We transition. Once we have a good, strong front sight focus and with the correct alignment, we work the trigger until the gun goes click without disturbing the sight alignment. The point isn't to do all this slowly. The point is to increase your speed at all of those things without disturbing the sight alignment. If you go too fast and the sights move, or you're not sure you had a front sight alignment in the first place, or you weren't focused on the front sight, that repetition doesn't count. Do 10 good repetitions with both hands, 10 with the strong hand, 10 with the weak hand. That's 30 trigger pulls. You can do it easily in less than 5 minutes. You don't have to put on any extra gear. You don't need anything other than the gun itself, which obviously you've checked to make sure it's empty, and you have a safe direction. That's all you need. 30 trigger pulls a day for a month. That's 900 perfect trigger pulls with fast transitions and a front sight focus. That will make a difference to your shooting. And this is something you can do easily every single day.